such a way that was going to make him look as bad as possible. And people, because I always say this, the American people are so smart. They looked beyond the fake news, which she epitomizes, and went and listened directly to Donald Trump of how rude and bad she was. And it was probably the one time that Donald Trump did an interview that actually didn't make any news.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, people said, this
didn't care.
Anyway, the next cut, another guy, I thought this guy had left the country, but I still think he's around. Jorge Ramos.
Well, I did throw him out of the press conference. So.
Well, that's what we're about to see here. Here it comes.
In the meantime, new reaction from Donald Trump this morning after having a reporter tossed from his news conference in Iowa last night in what has become a major dust-up over his immigration plan. This was the scene as Univision's Jorge Ramos was escorted from that news conference. And we'll have that for you in just a moment. Good morning, I'm Greg Jarrett in for Bill Hemmer here in America's Newsroom.
And I'm Heather Childers. Nice to be with you today. Shaping up to be a busy one. I'm in for Martha McCallum. And the moment was heated when Univision host Jorge Ramos, he started asking Donald Trump some questions about his immigration plan. And here's what happened. Listen.
Trump has a question about immigration, your immigration plan.
Okay, who's next? Yeah, please. Stephen, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. No, you don't. You haven't been called. Go back to Univision. Go ahead.
You cannot deny citizenship.
Sit down, please. You weren't called.
I'm a reporter and I have one question, sir.
Go.
I have the right to answer questions.
All right, that reporter, Jorge Ramos, was eventually let back.
That's enough of that. Who was that guy that threw him out?
So this is great. So look, this is in Iowa. It's fairly early in the campaign. This is before we pick up Secret Service. And so the big tall guy with the buzz cut, that's Keith Schiller. He was the body guy.
He's a New York cop.
New York cop, spent 19 years next to Mr. Trump. And if you look in that picture, what happens is Donald Trump is looking at me, and I'm on at that time, Mr. Trump's left, and Keith is right next to me, and I can see Trump looking at me. He's like, you didn't ask him a question. I go, Keith, that's enough. And then he walks around, grabs a guy, escorts him out, and if you look in the background as he's walking out, Dan Scavino's there, who runs Trump's Twitter account. So he's sitting there tweeting about the whole thing right afterwards. It's almost comical because there's only 5 of us on the campaign, and we threw the guy out. And I don't think it was going to be that big of a deal, but I guess it was.
And then the other thing was, he says, go back to Univision. That was right after Univision had broken the contract to run Miss Universe, right?
Well, and they were boycotting the property in Miami at the golf course. Yeah. Right, that's why. That's a big part of it.
Why hasn't this happened to Jim Acosta yet? Can't someone kick him out of a room?
Look, I'll tell you this. Jim, I know Jim. I know him I know all the fake news at CNN because I spent some time there. I know them all. Jim probably needs to be suspended or have his credentials from the media suspended for a day or two from the White House because he's so egregious. A little suspension might be the right thing for Jim.
How about a 209A restraining order?
It'd be great.
All right, this next one, this is one of the times that they thought that it was all over for Donald. This is one of the first times they thought it was all over for Donald Trump. Listen to this.
He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate
And then this was the headline the next day. I remember being in Market Basket in Waltham, and I go to buy my copy of the Sunday New York Post, and this is the headline I see. And I thought, maybe it's true. Maybe, what did you think, Corey?
Look, it was amazing. So we were in Iowa when that took place. There was 3 of us at the time traveling with Mr. Trump as myself, Hope Hicks, and Keith Schiller. That was the entire campaign operation. This is 1 month after we officially launched the campaign. And I write about this in the book, so if you haven't read my book, you're going to do it because I made you buy it. Or Howie actually made you buy it, so it's great. We leave, I cancel the rest of the day in Iowa. We get in the cars and we start heading to the airport. I say, hey, just take us to the plane, we're going home. And so I remember getting on the airplane, I called my wife, I said, hey baby, the campaign's over, I'm coming home. She goes, oh, like for the day? I go, no, like it's over. Because Mr. Trump walked off of this stage with Frank Luntz, and I was standing right at the door, and I said, sir, I need to speak to you for a minute. And he says, that's pretty good, huh, Carr? I said, could I speak to you for a minute, sir? And we walk in this room, I close the door, it's just he and I in this room, and I said, sir, I think we need to do a press conference because you need to apologize to John McCain. Because look, I'm a political hack and that's all I've ever done. So I'm giving him my best advice, which is, you got to apologize to John McCain. And he goes, yeah, I don't think so. And I said, no, sir, you got to apologize to John McCain. He goes, you know what? He looks right at me and he looks at me, he goes, you know what, you're absolutely right. Let's go have a press conference. And we go downstairs and he holds a 28-minute, unbelievably contentious press conference. He's literally yelling at reporters, yelling at them. I'm like, I've never seen anything like this. And thank God for guys like Al Baldessaro from New Hampshire, our vets who always stood by us. Thank you, and all of you in our World War II veteran. Where is he?
Yeah, where's
our World War II veteran here?
Doug Bryant.
Doug, thank you very much. Thank you.
Doug Bryant, he's a submarine guy from World War II. He's 91 years old. He's got a book out, The Navy Got My Shoe. It's available on Amazon. Doug, you want to say something? Doug, tell them about your book.
How long do I have? My book. I was a young kid growing up in the Depression. I lived up in New Hampshire without electricity, heat. Pardon, sir? We didn't have electricity. We had the outhouse. We had the old Sears and Roebuck catalog next to us. My mother, if she could save a nickel, she might have a roll of toilet paper. World War II came along. Anything was better than living in Eaton, New Hampshire. So I joined the Navy. I rode submarines in World War II. I stayed in the Navy. I served on 5 submarines. I was a deep sea diver, a scuba diver. I talk a little bit about leadership in my book, and best of all, a few dirty stories. Thank you so much. Thank you, Howie.